Howdy folks, welcome back to a questionable episode of Sailing Slow Motion. So as you can see, I'm wearing my foul weather gear. We're calling for, well, first the temperatures are in the low 50s and tonight they're going to drop down into the low to mid 40s. I'm going to go camping out here and see how I survive. So comment below if you think this is a good idea or not. It's calling for an inch of rain. Cold, wet, rainy. This is gonna be a true test of my skills, the boat capabilities, and how this is gonna pan out. We're going to the north, not too far, just about 5 or 6 miles ish, and we're gonna anchor in this little cove. The cove that I picked it's good at regular tides, at low tides. We're probably going to hit bottom tonight, but I couldn't find anything really more suitable that is going to give us a little bit of protection from the wind and the weather that's going to be upon us. This is going to be a fun one. Enjoy, folks. Hope I do too. Okay, I have seeked the shelter of my trusty umbrella, and I'm even more thankful that I have it, not just for the sun, but to keep this rain off. Although we're going to follow the track that I took when I came in originally a couple weeks ago, because I know that the boat fits across the islands through that particular spot. So since I made it once, I'm pretty sure I can make it a second time. So that's what I'm doing right now. I got the tracker on, I got the navionics on my phone, and that's running. And this is keeping the rain from getting onto any of my electronics in the dash. So I just took a gamble, and I think it's gonna pay off. I saw a spot as I was approaching the channel that looked like it was a little bit deeper right there, and I shot through it and we cleared it by several inches, so it's definitely a safe pass. I'll try it again tomorrow when I'm coming back. I should be able to hit that same spot. As I was coming through the channel, there was a pontoon boat behind me, and the guys on the boat were asking their captain, they're like, why don't we go that way? And he's like, it's too shallow. He's like, that guy can do it, but we can't. So, but we probably draft the same. He could have done it. But anyway, onward. Woohoo! You know, as crappy as this weather is, wind and rain in my face, we're cruising at, 3.5, almost 4. Still having a good time. I know misery can set in really quick, especially when I get cold, and I can tell that I'm going to be getting cold soon. But right now, it's a good time. Direction, I'm going to have to do several tacks just because the wind's blowing from where I want to go, and there's rock piles. So I'm hoping that these rock piles that are marked are where they're supposed to be. So as I'm tacking my way in here, into this cove, these spots of seaweed, a lot of times are rocks. I hit a rock back there, and so I'm really having to pay attention when I see those dark spots to assume that they are all rocks, because like there's this is too rocky here. I'm getting close to being inside the cove, and I'm going to keep pushing in, and I got probably about a mile before I'm where I want to be. But I really got to focus on navionics. It's just pretty much showing this whole area as a rocky spot, which is what it is. I'm already in here. I'm gonna have to make sure the sun's out tomorrow when I'm trying to leave, because otherwise I'm not gonna be able to see these things. And they are okay. I am definitely not leaving before the sun comes up tomorrow. There, I just passed this rock. I just saw it as I was approaching it. Gigantic rock, and it had this sharp edge that I would have dug that keel right into. So I am on high alert, watching for any dark spots right now as I work my way into this bay. I picked it. All right, so I'm in the cove, and we're just kind of cruising along. One of these little islands has a little beach on it, and it's an island. So I'm just gonna sail over to it, see how close we can get. I don't know if you can see it on the trees right there, that little beachy area. We're gonna see if we can get there, see how it looks. So we just got the jib out, so that's easy to roll up. And the water depth is probably 1.5 feet. So this will all be ground once the tide rolls out. But that's okay, because it's coming back higher tomorrow, so we'll be able to sail out of here. All right, so before I go explore the island, the rain is supposed to pick up, and it's supposed to be pretty bad tonight, up to an inch of rain. So what I'm going to do is do the responsible thing and set up camp real quick and get this all buttoned up where I feel safe that it's not going to get flooded out or be more difficult to set up later even. So set anchor, letting the boat kind of drift out. We do have some good wind coverage from the trees, and this seems like it'll be a good spot for tonight. Well, I made short work of the tie down spots. I've already torn 2 corners just by like lightly bumping it. So this is a pretty inefficient tent so far. I'll see if it'll even set up. Hey, okay, so we got it set up, and probably just in time. The rain's really starting to start coming down. So there's a lot of issues with it. One thing that I got to do is, like, this doesn't have a zipper on the bottom. It's just got the Velcro down here, which doesn't really hold. I had to cut the floor so I could get into the cabin underneath it. So far it's not too bad. I mean, it's got some issues. It's got these holes that you can attach kids' tunnels to, which I'd like to sew those shut. We'll see how well that Velcro holds tonight. Looks like the tears in the corners didn't tear through the fabric completely, and that one did, big enough to stick my finger through. But I think we have at least a little bit of protection from the rain. So I'm gonna get out of these wet clothes. I can't hop in the water with the pants that I'm wearing, so I'm gonna strip those off and just wear these water pants, and then we'll go to shore. Real quick to see if you can see, I just cut the floor so that the opening is all here. So I'll be able to take everything that's inside of here and put it up on the bench that I'm sitting on right now, and that'll free up this whole space as my sleeping area. So I'll have inside there I'll have about 10 foot of space that I can lay out in, and then up here I got a nice dry spot for all my gear. And then right outside the door is the bench. So if I want to cook, I can cook out there. So right now I'm liking this setup. I don't like the quality of the tent. The tent's pretty weak, but in reality, it just has to last, a couple nights. So I'm not too concerned with it. This isn't a permanent shelter of any kind. As I was just pulling everything out, I was going to set my bed space up. My pad is on slow motion, so I got to sleep on the hard floor tonight. It's going to be like I'm in prison. But, oh well. I pulled it out because when it was just setting down here, I left it on there from last weekend, and that water condensation in between that and the floor, it wasn't drying. So I took that out a couple days ago and slid it onto slow motion, and totally slipped my mind when I was getting the boat ready to go. So, but that's okay. I mean, we can rough it for one night. All right, so there's the tent and how it looks on the boat. It fits in that spot pretty nicely. Let's go check out this island. All right, well, I just wanted to check this island out, see how cool it was, and it is a pretty neat little island, but it's chilly. Like I said, the temperatures are in the low 50s, upper 40s, and I'm pretty wet right now, and there's a slight breeze, so that's chilling me out. Just enough that I want to get back to my little cubby hole that I have. And hopefully I can cook something warm to eat and get comfortable. We'll see how it is without having the pad. I do have an extra blanket, it's a whoopee, and I'm going to take that and just fold that up and sleep on that, and that should be fine. All right, so trudging through that water was a little bit chilly, but the nice thing about having this set up over like a Hobie TI or another boat is that inside my tent, I can light my stove and produce heat, and I bet that warms this place up real fast. We'll see how it goes tonight when the temperature dips way down and into the 40s and see how I feel then. And I think if I do get cold, I'll do the same thing that I just did now. Pop up, turn the stove on for a minute or two. It's already warmed up in here. Like, it already feels pretty decent. So it doesn't take but a few seconds. Okay, so for lunch, dinner, and dinner, what I'm gonna make is this meal right here. This is out of one of the survival food bins that I have at the house. And it's got about 1,000 calories in it. So I'm just gonna make half of it and see how much I like it. I've had other ones out of the bins that I liked, but I haven't had this one yet, the stroganoff. It says it's got a beef flavored sauce, but it's not beef stroganoff. But we'll see how it is. So it says I need about 4 cups. I guess that's somewhere around there. To light it, turn the gas on and give it some fire. So I decided to only mix half of it, and then I just took one of my hair ties and closed the bag up. But I'm thinking the way this powder came out, I did shake it up a little bit, but hopefully either this is going to be the flavorful batch or this one's going to be the flavorful batch, but we'll see if I was able to divide that up evenly or not. So I just started this water and it's already starting to get hot. This stove is so fast. And just so you can see that I'm not a total heathen, I do have plastic bags that I can put that in. So I'm going to throw this in my food bag now. Any powder that falls out will just be lost into this bag and not my full food bag. And this water is so near boiling, and it's only been like 2 minutes. And it's boiling. So that's it. We're going to turn that off. Pour in just enough. Ooh, steamy. We'll hold there. We'll save a little bit of water just in case that's not enough. And then I gotta find my spoon so I can stir that up. That is looking delicious. Alright, so we're just gonna let that set for about 15 minutes. And then it'll be chow time. Oh man, so this is comfortable living right here. It's cold outside, it's rainy outside, just a real miserable day out there. But here I sit comfortably in my 2-bedroom condo on the water. I'm calling this my bedroom and this my living room, right? Oh, and then I have my porch outside the door. So this is great. But this is my first bite of this beef stroganoff. See how good this is. That is a beef flavored sauce. It's not too bad. I'll be able to eat it. I'm kind of hoping that the wind will give me, or the rain will give me a little break. It's picking up out there, getting a little bouncy. I would like to run the anchor line out a little more. I had it pretty short when I first set it. And I think we're slowly pulling just a little bit. So I need to get a little more panned out there. So I might just have to brave it, put on my water pants or my rain pants and just hop in and fix that problem. It's cold. I don't really want to do it, but if I don't do it now, it's going to be a real problem here when it gets dark. So I'm just going to have to suck it up and do it. Whew, okay, so I just laid out the full 50 feet there. We're in muddy bottom. This anchor will hold us. The wind's blowing off of the shore, but the waves are coming in from the side, so we got like a cross thing happening here. So it is going to be a little bouncy for a little while until the wind shift changes. But I need to get back in the tent and get dry. It's cold. Alright, so while we're getting beat up, I need to do dishes. And I have these little flaps that are for the little kiddie area, but right beyond this is the water. So I can take my dirty dishes, just scoop the water, give my pan a good rinsing. Oh yeah, that's good enough to eat off of. Okay, it is officially starting to get cold. Everything has like moisture to it, like my hands are damp, like everything is kind of damp. And even though I have this cover, it's just been raining for so long, like, well, since we left, pretty much. Everything is just like holding on to that water. There's nowhere for it to go. It's not hot enough for anything to evaporate off. So everything that gets wet is just staying wet. So luckily I don't have to leave the tent anymore tonight. We'll stay at anchor and be secure there. And there's no other reason to get out of here, and maybe a bathroom break or something. But the conditions are definitely cold and wet. So I have on my legs, I have regular leggings, and then I have merino wool leggings, and then I have a pair of pants on. And then on top I have a sun shirt and then a merino wool top. So I still have another layer to put on. I have a very thick merino wool and fleece mixed like heavy duty top. And then I can put on my rain gear also on top of that, which will really keep my heat inside. So I don't think I'm going to have a hyperthermic issue, but it is definitely starting to get cold. I can feel it. So I'm just going to hang out here and let everything happen to me and see what I can do about it. Okay, so the sun is setting right now, and the winds are starting to pick up a little bit, and the rain's starting to pick up. I'm not too concerned with the winds. I don't think it's going to get crazy tonight. I was checking windy. It's not showing that it's going to get crazy tonight. But what it is showing is the rain is going to be significantly more than what they were saying. So originally they were predicting about an inch throughout the night. Now they're predicting up to 2 inches of rain tonight. So that the rain is going to get pretty intense. I'm kind of looking forward to it to see how all this holds up. Also not looking forward to the massive temperature drop that's coming along with that. So right now I feel pretty comfortable still temperature wise. I haven't put my thick top on yet. I just put the shell on, and that's trapping my body heat in there. And I don't have the shell on my legs yet. So I still have steps to go to protect myself, and I think I'm going to be okay. But the sun is starting to set on this beautiful afternoon, so I do want to show you the sunset here. So, looking out my back door. Look at that. Isn't it gorgeous? Looking at what I can see in the little screen next to the camera, it looks like the Blair Witch Project. I'm in a tent, and there's not scary sounds out there yet. So, but what we do have is condensation building on everything, and like rain's coming in from the top vent, and it's running down the sides, it's pooling up in here. There's just water everywhere, and it's supposed to be getting worse. It's supposed to really pick up here in about a half hour and run heavy for about 3 hours. So I'm just going to keep my sleeping bag and my blanket wrapped up in the waterproof bag until like the big rain is done, and as long as I cannot freeze. Right now I'm not really that bad. I got so many layers of clothes on that it's kind of like I'm in a sleeping bag already. So my only concern now is just the amount of moisture that is everywhere, and the fact that tomorrow now, which was once supposed to be slightly rainy or cloudy, is now calling for up to a half an inch of rain and raining all day. So this isn't going to stop. This whole trip is going to be a wet trip, and there's nothing I can do about it. But again, this is good practice for a worst case scenario on the Everglades challenge. So it's very possible to have 40-degree weather where it's rainy and it still be rainy the next day. I mean, it could happen. Hopefully it doesn't, but it could happen. So this is good training, good experience, and I'm learning a lot about what I have here and how to make it through this environment. And it's going to pay off in the long run. Hopefully I don't need it. I was just moving stuff around, checking things out, and my life jacket was in a pool of water. I'm so glad it didn't pop the sensor and send that thing full of air. So, but luckily it's out. Hopefully that sensor stays dry and it stays deflated. Oh man, it's fun. I did go through and pulled out my knife. It's got a little like fid on it for untying knots. And I used that and poked some holes in the bottom of the tent so that these pools of water can drain out. So it's not so bad in here. But yeah, it's still raining. All right, so it's about 10 o'clock-ish. The rains were supposed to be really bad right now, and they're not. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull out the blanket and fold that up and lay it on the floor. I am getting a lot of heat transfer from my body into the floor. I can feel it. My feet are touching where I was just laying down, and it's pretty warm. So that's heat loss that could be saved with a little bit of insulation. So I just woke up. It's 2:30 and the boat's resting on the bottom already. So I think low tide's at 4, so we got 2 more hours. So this is going to be definitely a dry flat here in a little bit. The boat's going to tip over on one of the amas. I'm not sure which one yet, but right now it's the keel is on the bottom and it hasn't dumped over yet, but it surely will. So that's where we're at. All right, I just want to show you the ground out here. Oh, is it gonna, can you see it? We are sitting high and dry. It's currently really calm out. There's a light rain sprinkle coming down. But in the distance, I can hear the wind coming. Just a steady sound out there. And it's getting closer. That's wild. We'll see what happens. We got about 3 inches of water over the ground right now. The boat's still sitting on its keel. We haven't tipped forward or off to the side, so I'm still level inside of here, but we'll see what happens when that wind hits. See if it pushes us over or not. You know what it sounds like? It's similar to camping next to like a river, and you could hear just the rushing water. There's just a steady sound of wind. It's not really getting here, so I think we'll be fine. It must be blowing just north of here. But see if I can't get just a little more sleep. Well, good morning. The sun is starting to rise. There's enough light outside to be able to see what kind of situation we got going on. I'm just going to give you a nice little 360 view here. It is not raining, which is nice. There's the little islands. And then I'll show you the boat here. So it did kind of nose forward a little bit, but we got to wait for tide to come up before we can get out of here. It's going to be a couple hours yet, which is fine because we can cook us some breakfast and just kind of stretch and wake up. And I think today we're going to sail out probably about 3 miles or so, and then we'll hook around and do the 3 miles back on the other side, 3 or 4 miles back on the other side. So it should be a good day. It's not raining, which is awesome. It's supposed to be raining constant. So if it can be like this, I'll take it. Okay, we came back into our little shelter to get away from it's a little bit warmer in here still, probably just from my body heat. But I just turned the stove on to boil some water, and we're gonna have some maple multi-grain brown sugar cereal. Let's see how good this is. The dinner last night was pretty good, so I have high hopes. Okay, so we have made a big pot of maple brown sugar oatmeal. It looks good. Let's see how it tastes. It's pretty hot, but well, on a cold morning like this, that'll do. That is nice. Okay, so I was just checking Navionics and Windy and the weather app to see what my best course of action is right now. And it doesn't look like the wind's gonna let up again. We had that little bit this morning where it was calm, and that was nice. But that's over with. It's gonna rain for the rest of our time out here, according to what I've looked at. So we're gonna wait until high tide because the tide is so minimal. So as you saw earlier, it was bare ground that we were sitting on, and the tide that's coming in is a 1.5 foot tide. So we're going from a 0 to a 1.5. This boat drafts 1.5. So we're just gonna be skimming along, barely making it. So what I wanna do, yesterday when we came in, we had about a 2.5 foot tide, and I was able to navigate around the rocks as we were coming in. So I wanna avoid that situation today. So I'm just gonna head out west, hopefully miss the big rock pile sections, and then kind of loop around and then come back into the channel and then bank towards home. So we'll see how all that plays out. I'm just gonna sit here and wait for about another half hour, 45 minutes, and then tear this puppy down and get out of here. Good news, the boat just popped up out of the mud, so we're floating. We have enough space. I'm still gonna give it another 20 minutes and get another inch or 2 inches of water in here before we start tearing down. But I'm pretty happy that we're freed up. I was a little nervous about that. Okay, well, this is about as good as it's gonna get, I think. We're still actually touching the bottom, but I'm gonna go ahead and tear down this tent and see if we can just pull ourselves off. The deep water's right there, it's not far, so we'll get ourselves out of here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to walk out there and get the anchor. It's too shallow. So I'm just gonna pull up my leggings and go for a hike in that water. Hopefully it's not too cold. All right, so we're sitting on the ground. Still pretty good, but I'm gonna see if that jib is gonna be enough to pull us off here. There's a pretty good wind. It's gusting up to 20. So I'm just gonna let that grab and then walk up to the front. I think I'm gonna have to use the tiller a little bit. The problem I see is the rocks right there. So right now I just have the jib up and not the main. And I'm doing that so that I can depower real quick if I need to. And I'm standing up in the cockpit seat, trying to get the best visibility as I can. I would move forward, but I won't be able to depower if I do that. So we're just gonna ride like this for about a mile or so, I think, and the flats run pretty far. So it's a cold, rainy day, obstacles everywhere. This is a true test of our capabilities and really why we're coming out here today. I mean, why else you can go out in weather that's this bad unless you're trying to accomplish some goal. And our goal is to experience it and thrive through it. And I think we're doing that. The military has a term that they use a lot in bad situations, and it's embrace the suck. And it's kind of like the adult version of if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. But on a lot of the deployments, you hear that term going around a lot, embrace the suck. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now, just embrace. Okay, this is pretty wild out here. So due to the low high tide and the amount of rocks that are just scattered everywhere, I'm going out to the end of the channel. It's the only thing I could think to do that's going to really get us home safely. The rocks are just, it's a minefield out here. It's wild. So yeah, I'm just going to run out west, hope I avoid these things, and then come back in on the other side. I know it's safe over there. I've been over there a lot. So just got to get there. Just got to survive that. Yeah, if I knew these waters better and the conditions weren't like this, you know, I would go closer to the channel and look for a cut across. But it's just so bumpy and wavy, and the rain, and it's kind of hazy. It's just not a good time to be trying to cross over a massive rock pile that's just under the surface of the water. So we were running out. We're gonna go the 3 miles out and then turn and come back. We got waves that are just smacking our side here, making it really rough. I still just have the jib out because I don't want to get up and try and put the main up anyway. And we're going 4 knots. So we're making good headway. And I mean, everything's gonna happen when it happens. We're just gonna be out here a little bit longer, which, I mean, you know, that's okay. We'll get home eventually. We're not hyperthermic yet. I mean, it's cold, but you know, we're not shivering. So if we're not shivering, we're in a good place. Okay, we just turned onto our side of the channel. Whew. Man, this is wild out here. Waves are coming over probably about 2 foot every now and then and breaking pretty good on us. So right when I made that turn, everything seems to have calmed down just enough. So we can run this all the way back in. I think we're gonna be good. Can't wait to get home though and warm up. If I was on the race, I'd really have to think about how I'd handle this situation and what I would do to set myself up for the next night. So everything's wet right now, and to do this again, like to stay out here another night, would kind of be a problem. So I'm not real sure what I'm gonna do with that if I run into foul weather for a long period of time. But for today, I know that we can sustain being out here in cold, rainy weather for an overnight. We're cruising back in at about 4 knots. And besides the being wet and cold, everything seems to be working fine. Whew. So, got a little problem here and trying to get back. We're close. I mean, we're within a mile, but the way the wind's blowing and the waves are blowing, the boat doesn't want to go that way. So, trying to encourage it with a little bit of paddling. I got to adjust the tiller and then pin it with my leg and hold it still. But we're like making no progress. And I don't know what's going on. They have to put the main up just to grab it. I mean, when I tack, my tacks are nowhere near where I want to be going. So we're just getting driven away from shore from that wind, and it's just being a beast. So, I mean, we'll get there eventually. It's gonna take a little bit of effort. Well, it is gonna be with great patience that I make it back in. I have tried to paddle, I've tried to do tacking, I've tried to just make my way closer to land in as many ways possible besides raising the main, which I'm a little leery of right now. Just everything's slippery and wet, and the winds are gusting up to 20, and it's pretty gnarly out here. So I'm just leaving the jib up, and my tacking angle is not ideal at all. It would definitely tack better with the nicely shaped main up, but we're making our way to shore at about a knot. We got the winds coming like right off of where we want to go, so we got to tack into it, but with wide tack angles. So I'm hoping to catch breaks from the houses here at another, you know, a couple 100 yards, maybe a quarter mile. But once we get that wind break, I can see in the channel that it's a lot smoother. So just trying to get there and put this fun trip to bed. I do want to get dry and warm. Whew. Okay, I made it into the channel. That was a workout. So I still have the jib up. We're catching just a slight breeze, but man, now that we're in here inside where the houses are, whew, take a break. That was crazy. It was just so much driving wind and waves pushing away from shore. It was a beast getting in there, but we did it. We always do. So, all right, now we're just gonna cruise on in, get to our slip, and then I'll hop on to slow motion and do a closing clip coming up right here. Okay, we have made it back onto slow motion. We are in a dry environment, although my hands are wet, like all of my skin, all my clothes, everything is wet. But we are one step closer to being home and being dry. But at the beginning of this video, I asked if I was making a good choice going out or something like that. Was this a good idea? To comment down below. I still don't know if that was a good idea. I mean, I did learn a little bit about myself in the boat, but really I just got everything cold and wet, and now I got to deal with all that mess tomorrow. But it was a great journey. It's something that I will never forget. I will remember this today, last night, and yesterday. I'll remember this trip for a long time. Whenever I reference a bad trip, I'll be using this one as the reference. So I'm glad that we're home. I'm glad you guys joined us, and hopefully I was able to entertain you guys a little bit through the process of me learning. If you did enjoy this video, please like and subscribe down below, and I will be posting more of these, and probably not in this bad of weather, but if I'm on the race and this happens, then this happens, and this is what I'll deal with. But let's shoot for some good weather sailing in the next video. Thank you. Take care.